Will the Democrats replace Joe Biden after yesterday's debate train wreck? It's a question swirling all over the world this morning. Joining me is Fitzpatrick and Co-Advisory Special Counsel and Labor Advisor Bruce Hawker. Bruce, good morning. Do they have any other option?
Oh, well, I can keep Biden, obviously, as the candidate, and he'd have to stand down in order to effectively make way for another candidate. So if that were to happen, he would say to the party that he's not able to continue on in the presidency. He'd have to resign from the presidency, and a decision would have to be made at the national convention of the Democratic Party in Chicago, which is due to occur in August. But that has all sorts of complications attached to it as well. For example, an Ohio law requires all the candidates for the presidency to be on the ballot by the 7th of August, which is actually before the convention starts. So there would have to be some rapid rearranging going on within the Democratic Party for all that to be possible. And that would be a big ask.
Watching what we saw yesterday, thinking that that's what it's like in 2024, how would it possibly be in 2025, 2026, 2027? It seems like they have to do something.
Well, we can only speculate about what his health would be like in the coming years, but we can't assume for a second that it's going to be any better than we saw yesterday. So, yes, there would be extreme pressure on him. In fact, tonight in the United States, the New York Times editorial board has just editorialised that he should step down in the interests of the nation and of democracy, citing Trump as being a threat to democracy is one of the main reasons why the president should go. So this is an unfolding story. It's said that the only person who could really convince him to do this is his wife, Jill Biden. But we don't know. There would be other people in the party, senior people, who would be likely to make approaches to him, perhaps Obama, people like that. Who knows? We'll probably never know, to say that the time has come to step down. There are other ways that potentially he could be removed. I mean, the convention could actually, in theory, vote against him, and there are 4,000 odd delegates to the convention. And so if a majority of them actually voted for another candidate, then he would lose the nomination for the presidency at that point. But that seems to me to be virtually inconceivable. In fact, the prospect of him going, I think, is remote, even though we saw such a disastrous performance yesterday. What we do know, though, is that there are some very talented people in the sidelines. For example, the governor of Michigan, Gretchen Whitmer, she did the Democratic response to the President Trump's 2020 State of the Nation address. She's very talented, very popular in her own electorate, a woman. There are a number of people who actually could step in if the president decided it's time to go.
They're going to have to do something. I would think it's just the stakes are too high. It's going to be a very interesting watch. Now, look, back home, Julian Assange, the opposition criticised the Prime Minister for being a little bit too cosy with receiving him back here in Australia.
Well, they did. It was pretty predictable, I guess, that they would, and some people would agree with the opposition's view on that. Others, I think, and perhaps Anthony Albanese was, sensing the mood of the country, had reached a view that it was well and truly time for Assange to be released, and that Australia was doing absolutely the right thing in pressing the United States, the president particularly, to make sure that he was released before being extradited to the United States, where it would have been a disaster for him in prison. So I don't think much is going to flow from that in terms of the ongoing debate around politics. It was one of those moments where we saw Australia actually taking a stand on behalf of somebody who, yes, has a very checkered and controversial background, but who I think the majority of the Australian electorate decided was well and truly due for release back to Australia.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so many other issues that we could have discussed this morning. The American issue has sort of taken over a lot of the editorial locally. So I look forward to chatting with you very soon, Bruce. Thanks, mate.
Thank you, Tim.